There are probably 3 things I wish I knew about mini splits before I installed mine, and I want to share those with you today. The first thing I want to share is a little more universal, but basically it's how much quieter they are and how much faster they are, especially when compared to the window unit that I used to have here. In my shop, I've had this 84-pound beast blocking half of my view and hanging its butt out the window since the time I built this shop. And I've used this as my sole source of heating and air conditioning for this particular building here. And it's done an okay job, but it's slow to heat things up, it's slow to cool things down, and it is just loud. So these are all things that I haven't enjoyed about that. Not to mention there's a danger factor, at least for my situation. Every time I mowed the lawn, I'd have to watch my head for that corner and the edge of that thing hanging out the side of the wall here. And it was always dangerous. I have smacked my head on that thing several times, believe it or not. I've even cut myself because that thing is just so in the way. So I'm glad to have that out of my life. And ever since installing the mini split, I've noticed a few things. Number one, I have my view back. So half my window isn't missing over here, which is a definite good thing. Number two, it is so much quieter. Because that was an all-in-one unit and everything was right there, you hear the fans, you hear the noise, and it's distracting and it's loud. I end up filming in here quite a bit, so I actually had to turn that off while I filmed, which would make me extra cool or extra hot, and then I'd have to stop the camera and then turn the thing back on and hope it could heat up, but it still couldn't catch up quite as fast as a mini split can. With the mini split, your fan is separate, your condenser is outside, and so you're not hearing that. The other nice and convenient thing about the mini splits is that they're up and they're out of the way. Now, I'm not trying to make this a sales pitch, I'm just trying to tell you kind of the night and day difference we've seen when installing a mini split versus a window unit. The same thing applies, we've tried heaters, the little mobile heaters that you can put around, as well as the little mobile air conditioning units, and they are loud, they're in the way, they're inconvenient. So the mini split has been a big win in all those aspects. Now, the second thing I think everyone should know about is that there are a lot of advertisements for this DIY mini split. It's a pretty awesome product. There's a few main differences between a product like that and its competition of comparable specs. Now, one of the biggest things besides those 3 is the price. So for example, I ended up going with a unit called Tosot, and for the 12,000 BTU 220 volt unit, that one costs $920. If you get the comparable one, that's gonna run you $1,500. So what's the difference in 580 bucks? Why is it so much more? Well, there's 3 things that I was able to find. The first one, and probably most important, is that there's what are called pre-charged lines, where the line sets that connect your indoor unit to your outdoor unit are pre-charged. You don't have to vacuum pump them, and that's very convenient. It's a nice thing, and I think that's a lot of what gives it the DIY title. Now, the fact is, when I did some research, you can actually buy a vacuum pump and the gauges and everything you need to do this yourself in under 30 minutes for 130 bucks. I mean, that's pretty crazy. So 130 bucks for the biggest factor of that price difference. I'll put links in the description below to exactly what that looks like. Now, I actually made a video that you can check out that shows exactly how I went through this process, and it walks you through every bit of it. So if you're interested in seeing what's involved in that, you can see that video up here. Now, the second thing that's different is that those lines have what are called connections. And that is also very convenient. It's a really nice thing. Basically, instead of using 2 adjustable wrenches to connect your lines, you just do kind of a slip-on thing and you're sealed up and you're good to go. Again, very convenient, but it's gonna save you literally a few minutes maybe, and not, to me, worth that extra price. The third big difference is Wi-Fi or smart capability. Basically, got the Wi-Fi built in, which I think is awesome. That is a great feature to have. And that's something I wanted for mine, and it didn't come with Wi-Fi until I discovered that you can get something like this. This is called the Sensibo Sky. It runs about 100 bucks. I just got mine the other day with a coupon, 15 bucks off. So $85 for this, and this gives me full control. I can use my Alexa, my Google, my Siri, any of those. And basically I can control the temperature. I can turn it on or off. I can set it to a consistent temperature. I can tell the shop basically out here where I'm at to warm up or cool down before I come out. Alexa, set woodshop AC to 68 degrees.
The heat set to 68.
Any of those sorts of things for a little add-on like this. Very cool. So what it comes down to is you're paying $580 more for these 3 differences, but I just don't think they're worth 580 bucks. If I can basically pay, let's say, 230 bucks at most for those three differences, then I get to keep that other 350, and that's money in my pocket. So I'm definitely gonna go with something a little more affordable and take care of those things myself. Now the third thing I think a lot of people don't realize before getting a mini split is that there is a lot of electrical work involved in doing this. This is not something that you can just plug into the wall, for example. A lot of window units, I know you can actually just plug into a standard 110 volt outlet. That is not the case here. Even my window unit that I've been using this whole time, I actually bought it while I was building this shop so that I could run a 220 volt wire, which is what it required, and do the specific outlet that it needed and put that in the shop so I could plug it in. Don't know how much use I'm gonna have for that 220 volt because it's got a kind of a funky plug, but I've got that plug if I wanna try something else with it, and I needed that to run that size of a window unit. The mini split is kind of like a central air sort of thing, but it's a ductless mini split. I mean, you do have to have a lot of the same features that you have on a full-size air conditioning system. Because it's a fairly large and capable unit, there are a few caveats with that. And number one is, by code in the United States, you need to have what's called an AC disconnect hooked up to your condenser. Basically, your condenser is that outside fan part that controls everything and pumps the air in, cools it down, heats it up, all of that. And near that, within a few feet of that, you need to have a switch, basically a big AC disconnect, where if a service technician comes to your place to work on it, he can just turn that off, whether it's a flip off or you pull a plug, remove a fuse, whatever the case may be. And these are cheap, they cost like 13 bucks, but that has to be there. That's electrical work that someone has to do. In addition, you're almost definitely going to have to run a new circuit breaker in your circuit breaker panel and then run that with the appropriate sized Romex cable to that AC disconnect, and then you use what's called a whip to connect your AC disconnect to your condenser. Now, if this all sounds totally overwhelming, that's understandable. And again, in my other walkthrough video, I'll show you all the steps for that. You can check that out. But there's a lot of electrical work. Now, the cost for all of that electrical stuff that I mentioned, by the way, is not very much. It's anywhere between 50 to 150 US dollars, depending on your setup. And most of that depends on how close your circuit breaker panel is to your condenser and what's in between. Now, this is not something that's specific to any one type of mini split. This is all mini splits. Even if they're a 110 volt, 9000 BTU, the smallest units that you can typically get, you still need to do all the same amount of work. It's just a code requirement in order to do this. You can't plug them in, there's no wall outlet that you're gonna be able to throw that on, and you're not supposed to be able to do that, at least within the United States. In other countries, that may be an option, but certainly not here. So you'll wanna check with your local code to see what's involved with that, and maybe check out that other video to see if it makes sense for you and if you're comfortable doing all that. So with all those three things mentioned, I have to say that having installed the mini split, I love it and I would do it again in a heartbeat. All of those steps, they may seem kind of overwhelming, but there's a few things that I just wanted you to know about before you get into a mini split and see that you can do it yourself. You just have to be aware of what you're getting into. Now, as I mentioned before, I'll put links to all of the products that I've mentioned here and all of the things we've talked about in the description. If you do want to look for a unit that I've trusted and that I've been using and enjoying, I'm using what's called Tosote, and you can actually get a much better deal by buying from their website, and they'll still ship free anywhere in the United States, but that's a lot cheaper price than buying on Amazon. So check out those links if you're interested. And if you have questions about installing a mini split, leave those in the comments below and I'll do my best to help out there. I'm Nils with Learn to DIY. Thanks for watching.